We'll call the regular governing board meeting of the Lammersville Unified School District to order at 7 p.m. As a reminder, this meeting is being recorded, so please take a moment to silence or turn off your cell phones. And if anybody is here that would like to speak during public comment or on a specific agenda item, please fill out a blue comment card and turn it into Noel or Superintendent Nicholas, Dr. Nicholas. Item 1, Pledge of Allegiance. Trustee Boulay, would you lead us in the pledge? Item 2, roll call, please.
Lisa Boulay.
Here.
Colin Clements.
Here.
Benita Daniel.
Here.
Stephanie Olson.
Here.
David Pombo.
Here.
Satya Seelam.
Here.
Thank you. Item 3, approval and/or corrections to the agenda.
Yes, there is. On action item 7C, one of the candidates withdrew their name for consideration, Annette Kennedy. So we're recommending approval of all the rest with that amendment.
Move to approve the agenda as amended.
Second.
Is that Trustee Boulay? Mm-hmm. Based on a motion by Trustee Olson and a second by Trustee Boulay, student trustee preferential vote?
Aye.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries with 5 ayes and no nays. Item 4, committee reports. I wanted to thank my peers on the board for their cooperation in the reassignment of board members to the various committees. The new committee assignments are included in the agenda, and the board will note that mathematically the number of committees means that each board member but one is actually assigned to 3 committees, and the last board member is assigned to only 2. To me, it made sense for the president to be assigned to 2 committees. My thought was that since the board members inform the president if and when they are unable to attend a given committee meeting, the president can try to attend in their place. Obviously, that's not going to be always possible, especially if an issue arises at the last minute, but that was my thought. Finally, I was thinking that when a new president is installed each year, they can select one of the committees and assign it to the outgoing president, so kind of keeps the balance. Because as impressed as I am with Trustee Pombo, I think at one point he was on like 5 committees, and so I tried to balance it out and make it even. Obviously, the incoming president can make changes, but that made sense to me, and I hope it did to the rest of the board. That being said, are there any actual report-ins from any of the committees? If not, then I'm going to dispense with calling them out. I would ask the board to review the committee meeting schedule, and to the extent a particular committee meeting time and date does not work, to inform district staff, but with the caveat that it's like herding cats to get all the right people in the right spot. So, withhold your we need to change, your objections to the calendar to a dull minute, to an absolute minimum if you can. And anyway.
And there is a paper version of the recommended dates with one amended date. So I believe it's safety committee related. So we pushed that out because we noticed the date was inaccurate. The one posted.
Mm-hmm. Cool. And it's indicated with an asterisk. Thank you very much. Item 5, the governing board reports. Student board member Satya Seelam.
Good evening. Mountain House High School's competitive event teams had an eventful summer this year. On June 19th and 20th, the MHHS Synergy dance team attended the USA Dance Camp. They walked away with a superior rating and were voted the most improved team in the entire camp. And from June 18th to the 24th, 13 students from the MHHS Skills USA chapter went to the National Leadership and Skills Conference in Atlanta, Georgia. 8 of the students are next year's chapter officers, and at the leadership conferences, they were able to network with students and leaders from all over the nation. Along with that, we had 7 competitors, a team of 4, a team of 2, and an individual competitor, and we're excited to say that all of them placed top 10 in the nation for their respective events. And this was the very first year our school competed in this organization, and all the students are super excited to make it that far and bring back what they learned. And on June 21st to the 25th, the MHHS HOSA team traveled to Nashville, Tennessee for their annual International Leadership Conference, and our competitors competed in various events, attended workshops and expos. We had 3 teams and 3 individuals place top 10 in their event. We had 2 teams and 1 individual place second overall. And we also had 2 members receive a service award in the bronze level and an individual in the silver level. So on behalf of all the students who participated in competitive events this year and had the incredible opportunity to represent our school at the national and international levels, I would like to thank the board and the administration for their constant support, and we only hope to achieve more.
Thank you very much for that report in, and I think that the outstanding accomplishments of the team deserves an applause. Trustee Olson.
I attended the 4th of July parade with the rest of the board and Dr. Nicholas on July 4th, and the CSD Angel Lamb organized some really nice cars for us to ride in, and I got assigned to ride in a 1963 Impala with Trustee Pombo, and we were not the highlight of the parade. We were glorified candy throwers, and everybody loved the car, including me. It was great, but it was great to see the community out at the parade. And then I believe it was on July 9th, but I cannot recall the exact date, sorry. Old age memory. I attended the most recent CSD meeting and reported to the directors on the recent happenings in LUSD, which included Dr. Nicholas's information about AP scores. And that concludes my report.
Thank you very much, Trustee Olson. Trustee Boulay?
Thank you, Mr. President. It being summer, I have not done a lot of school-related things, but the report by our student board member is actually a good segue into what I wanted to address. And I do want to thank all of the district staff, the school administrators for the work they're doing during the summer to prepare for the upcoming year. I also want to thank all of the coaches, the advisors, and the chaperones that attended these out-of-state competitions so that our students can have this opportunity. I know that it is during summertime and it's their time off, and so I appreciate that they are dedicated and passionate about these, and our kids have that opportunity. Same thing with our athletic coaches who are running conditioning and summer workouts to prepare for the upcoming fall season. And on July 4th, I was honored to ride in the back of a vintage vehicle in the 4th of July parade as well, and that was pretty awesome. I think not having a parade for 2 years, it was one of the biggest crowds in terms of spectators. So it was really a fun time, and that's all I have. Thank you.
Trustee Pombo?
Thank you. I, along with the rest of the board, participated in the 4th of July parade, and as Trustee Olson mentioned, I got to ride in the back of a 63 Impala and throw candy at kids and some parents, which is always fun. And then last night, I attended a CSBA meet and greet in Manteca where the board members present discussed the differences in the agendas that different boards use, also various other things we have in common and not so in common, and I enjoyed it. It was interesting, and that concludes my report.
Thank you very much, Trustee Pombo, and I apologize. Thank you, Trustee Boulay. I forgot to say that. Trustee Daniel?
Thank you, President. On July 4th, I did attend the Independence Day Parade with Lisa, with Trustee Boulay, and we were on the 1948, sorry, I don't know the name of the car, but it was such a cute car, and it was lovely to meet all the spectators. And I have to say, I'm very humbled and honored to have been part of the parade, and it was a wonderful moment for me to cherish. On July 15th, I went to the Starbucks, our first Starbucks at our community, and I was just beaming with joy. I had a very awesome day with my family, and it was a moment to enjoy too. On July 16th, I attended the Mountain House Music in the Park. I saw a lot of kids playing with big balls. It was nice that the community was out there and enjoying their summer, so it was a very nice evening. I do want to congratulate all the students who took their AP tests and who scored really well on their AP test, and our superintendent shared the scores, so it was just wonderful to see the growth and the interest in the APs and all the students shining. So great job. I also want to congratulate the national and international, I want to congratulate the students who participated in the national and international competitions that was reported by Satya. Congratulations to the coaches and parents along with the students. I wanted to, I have a quick question to the superintendent, if I may ask. Has the summer school been completed successfully? Okay. So congratulations to all the students who completed the summer school. Thank you to all the teachers and the admin who were there as part of the summer school, and they gave in their time towards all the improvement of the students. So thanks to everyone. I also have something to share where I will not be in country starting from July 26th. I will be leaving to India, and I know I've already let a couple of you know about it, and you actually wish me happy vacation, but it's not a vacation that I'm going for. I'm actually going to take care of my mom. She's not well, and yeah, so I'm going there to spend some time with my mom, and I'll be returning back soon. Just give me a moment. Sorry. Yeah. So I just want to say from a personal standpoint, the summer has been great. I'm hoping all of us are having a great summer. A mother's dream is to have all our kids under one roof, and this summer I had both my kids at my home, so it's been a very eventful summer. And I wish I will not be here on the August 3rd. I know school is starting on August 4th. So I wish everyone a very successful school year, to all the teachers, admin, and the students. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Daniel, and on behalf of the board and the district, best wishes for your mother. I'm not aware of what the issues are, but so along with my peers, I did attend the 4th of July parade. I got to ride in my first time riding in a car that does lifts and stuff. I rode with Dr. Nicholas, and I want to clarify, I think the board was throwing candy to the kids, not at them.
Speak for yourself, trustee.
Okay, I was throwing candy to the children. So anyway, other than that, I have nothing to report. Item 6, receiving of public comments. The entire board appreciates hearing from members of the community and public at large. To facilitate this, the board shall give members of the public an opportunity to address the board either before or during the board's consideration of each agenda item, Code Section 54954.3. At a time so designated on the agenda, members of the public also may bring before the board matters that are not listed on the agenda of a regular meeting. The board may refer such a matter to the superintendent or designee or take it under advisement, but shall not take action at that time. the superintendent, the board may place the matter on the agenda of a subsequent meeting for discussion or action. Individual speakers shall be allowed 3 minutes to address the board on each agenda or non-agenda item. The board shall limit the total time for public input on each item to 20 minutes. There are speakers that would like to speak. So speakers will note that there are green, yellow, and red lights on the lectern, and there is a digital clock indicating the remaining time for each speaker. When the yellow or middle one lights up, the speaker has 1 minute remaining, so the speaker should begin to wrap up their comments and be able to finish at the end of their 3 minutes when the red light comes on. In order to be courteous and fair to other members of the community that have spoken at this or previous meetings and have limited their comments to 3 minutes allotted, and to others that want to speak in the future, I will unfortunately have to cut speakers off if they continue speaking after their 3 minutes are up. For members, I do have one blue comment card, which is Addison Matusik. Did I get that right? Please.
Hello, everyone. My name is Addison Matusik, and I'm a varsity captain at MHHS. Throughout my 3 years of being on the team, I've never seen such excessive disregard for our cheer and the experiences we deserve this year. Without a coach to guide us, we don't have the opportunity to practice and become the team we dream to be, something that we all expected to become by now. We need to be respected and treated just as well as the other sports teams at the school, because currently my teammates feel like an afterthought, because not only do we not have a coach, but we also do not have a comparable amount of funds as the other teams and clubs at our high school. We deserve a reliable coach this season that can promise us the experiences that we should have had these past few years. I am very thankful for the amount of effort and time our team parents have put in to our team. However, I don't think that they should be working harder than our school is to remind us of what we deserve. My teammates shouldn't have to be worried of whether we have enough mats to protect us from injuries, or about costs of things that can be covered by the school and by fundraisers and other sources. I wanted to bring these issues to you all today to compare the treatment we experience to the other teams at our school, and to finally make cheer a sport that people are proud to be a part of and to try out for. Thank you, everyone.
Addison, on behalf of the board, the entire board, I would like to thank you for your comments. I know it takes courage to come and stand here and voice your opinion, so we thank you very much for that. And I would ask district staff to follow up on that.
Yes.
President, with your permission, I just want to ask Addison a quick question. It's not with regards to your request, but I just wanted to ask, were you part of the drama club? Okay. So I'm a big fan of your performance, the last one. It was awesome. Thank you, President.
That's the only blue comment card that I received. Is there, and we do encourage people to complete a blue comment card. However, it is absolutely not required. Is there anybody else in the audience that would like to speak during public comment? Okay, thank you. Item 7, consent items for consideration. A, governing board meeting minutes of the special meeting on June 13th and the regular meeting on June 15th. Item B, contracts under $50,000. Item C, ratification of the 2022-2023 new hires. Item D, ratification of resignations. Item E, ratification of retirement. Item F, updated 2022-2023 fundraisers. Item G, ratification of budget revisions for May 2022, preliminary budget revision for June 2022, and the warrant list from 5/1/2022 through 6/30/2022. Item H, approval of early high school graduation or reduction of graduation requirement petitions for one student. Item I, ratification of school-sponsored overnight trips. Would any board member like to pull a specific consent item out for separate discussion and deliberation? Or are there any comments or questions about the consent items?
Move to approve the consent items.
Second.
Mr. President, that would have to be as amended since we had one change.
as amended.
Second.
Thank you.
Based on a motion by trustee Boulay and a second by trustee Daniel, student trustee preferential vote?
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries with 5 ayes and no nays. Trustee Olson, as the board clerk, will you do the honors, please?
Yes. I'd like to welcome the following new employees to the Lammersville Unified School District family. Corey Ayers, social science teacher. James Chegg, behavior specialist. Shweta Dixit, instructional aide. Gloria Hubble, high school food service lead. Judith Javier Casillas, self-contained classroom teacher. Sonali Khanna, food service worker. Elizabeth Neri, school secretary 1. Renee Nunn, coordinator of instruction and technology integration. Arturo Perez, grounds maintenance worker. Raja Lakshmi Pillai, math teacher. Lorena Rodriguez Daniel, administrative assistant 1. Ritu Sadev, math teacher. Cassandra Skelton, coordinator of special education. Haley Thanning, self-contained classroom teacher. Bao Vang, self-contained classroom teacher. And Andre Irina, self-contained classroom teacher. Welcome to Lammersville Unified School District.
Okay. Item 8, district administrative reports. A, superintendent's report. Dr. Nicholas?
This evening, we have a number of reports, so I'm going to have no report at this point in time.
Thank you very much. Item B, district enrollment report. Staff report?
Yes, we have currently 7,178 students, but it's important to note that we have 509 students in the queue. So this is the time of year, and we have that it's an inexact science, and it makes staffing very difficult. So on a typical year, we have an enrollment over the course of the summer, and then in the first 3 days, we have the no-shows and we drop them. And that's usually a number around 250 students. So we usually have a ongoing bet about what the number is going to be, and that's the calculus, is 250 kids. With 509 students in the queue, it is a unique year in that that's significantly larger than it has been in the past. So we don't know what the calculus should be for predicting drops. So I want to thank the folks that are working on staffing, and that's Director Sarah Barrios, and Associate Superintendent Harrison, Irene Bustatil, Director of Student Services. They're having to thread a very complicated needle. We're coming to the end of a pandemic. We've had massive growth in the community. The growth is spread out all over the place with all these infill projects, and not just to one school site. So they are trying not to hire too many teachers or too few teachers with a 509 number and not knowing how many kids are going to drop. So what does that mean? If you hire too many teachers, you own them through the school year. And that means we could have some classrooms with very small numbers of students if we're wrong. If you hire too few teachers, you're scrambling the first week and a half of school trying to find people in subs and things like that. It's very difficult on any given year, but this year it's going to be a big challenge, and our HR department have been working diligently to try to figure out how we're going to work this out. And the last thing I'll say is we had a number of teachers yet to hire. With growth, you have to add teachers, and then you have people over the course of the summer that leave, and at the end of a school year. So Team HR, led by Sarah Barrios, has reduced the number of needed to be hired from 24 down to 3. That is an extraordinary effort by a group of people that run a department that most people take for granted, HR. They only notice them when something goes wrong, but this is something's going right, so we're going to point them out. The other thing I'm going to say is that number 3 could grow as we anticipate student growth driving the need for more staff. So again, 71, 78 is the simple answer with 509 in the queue, and a start of the school year with a huge enrollment number, and then there will be some kind of drop of no-shows, and then I'll be able to give you an accurate one sometime probably in September.
Can I ask a quick question? When you're mentioning the 500 and some odd students that are in the queue, can you sort of clarify what?
That means people who are in the process of enrolling.
Got it. Okay, thank you. I thought so, but I wanted to make sure.
Item C, District Maintenance and Operations Report. Staff report?
Good evening, thanks for having me. Our summer of fun is wrapping up over in M&O department. Deep clean's wrapping up at most of the sites. Next week, they should be concentrating on the exterior of the campuses. The operations staff is out supporting the custodial staff as much as possible. Maintenance is out working, focused on work orders. The warehouse staff is still sorting through curriculum and textbooks and stuff, getting them scanned in our system, getting them out to the sites. The biggest project we had left are the 2 gyms at the high school. Staff started prepping the big gym yesterday. Hopefully they'll have it done by tomorrow so I can put the finish on Friday, and then we'll slide over to the small gym on Monday and get that one knocked out in a couple days. And amazingly, school starts 2 weeks from tomorrow. So, solar project, we're no longer having our weekly construction meetings, so things are wrapping up. On Wednesday, June 15th, we did our punch list walk at Altamont, Bethany, Hanson, and Wickland. On Monday, June 27th, they shut off the power at Lammersville to connect the array to the main electrical grid. A few days later, they turned it on, tested it. It's up and running. On the 14th, they brought in topsoil to level out the ground under the array, and last Monday, they took away the temp fence. So as it stands now, the arrays are on at Altamont, Bethany, Hanson, Wickland, Lammersville. Okay, we're waiting on parts for the high school and for Cuesta. And last I heard, they're going to be at the end of this month or first part of August to finish up those 2 schools. We still have some landscape work to do at some of the schools. I met with our landscape company last week to get a bid, or we asked for some help for them because some of it's quite extensive. We probably can't do it in-house. So I'm waiting on a price for that. And when I get that price, I'll review that with Thor before moving ahead. Costa Elementary, I've been attending the construction meetings. There's been 3 construction meetings every other week out there. They're doing all the underground work now, and according to their schedule, you should start seeing some building pads mid to late August. So that'll be exciting. Upcoming items this Friday, I have to do a Williams walk with the County Office of Ed at Cordis and Altamont. The following Friday, Thor and I have our quarterly Zoom meeting with our landscape company. We're still having staffing challenges. We ran a quick report on ASOP last week to see how many hours have been missed since school got out, and it's over 1,200 hours of time off. It's 150 work days, over 150 work days. For a variety of reasons, we have leave of absence, we have sick leave, we have people who have COVID, we have other things, workers' comp, we have unfilled positions, and we had a bunch of people had to take forced vacation, and other people had a vacations plan. So that all adds up to a lot of missed time for us the last couple months. We're averaging about 8 people off a day. On the 4th of July weekend, the Friday before, we had 15 people off, which is about half my staff. Last Monday, a couple days ago, we had 8 people off. Today, we had 8 people off today. So we're working through it. It's been challenging, but we're working through it, getting through it. We did interviews on the 22nd for our grounds position, and one of our own employees is going to get promoted into that position, so we're happy for him. We did interviews on Monday the 11th for the 3 floater positions. We have 2 candidates that we liked. They're moving forward in the hiring process, and we're going to interview next week for the try and fill the 3rd position. And as it stands today, we have the 2 positions. We have the 1 floater position, and then Arturo, our warehouse person, is going to move up in the ground. So we have those 2 positions to fill, which is better than last board meeting. If you remember, that we had 7 openings, so we're making progress. So, and that's all I have. Happy to answer any questions.
Questions, comments from the board?
Thank you
very
all.
much.
Thank you.
Item 9, action items. A, consider approval of 2022-2023 inter and intra-district transfer requests. By tradition, there is typically no staff report.
Move to approve 2022-2023 inter and intra-district transfer requests.
Second.
Based on a motion by trustee Olson and a second by trustee Daniel, student trustee preferential vote.
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries with 5 ayes and no nays. Item B, consider approval of the 2022-2023 contracts with non-public agencies for 6 licensed vocational nurse services not to exceed $383,000. Staff report?
Yes, this would meet our nursing needs for the year, something we do every year, and we recommend.
Move to approve the 2022-2023 contracts with non-public agencies for 6 licensed vocational nurses services not to exceed $383,000 for ProCare Therapy and the Stepping Stones Group.
Second.
Based on a motion by trustee Boulay and a second by trustee Pombo, student trustee preferential vote?
Aye.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries with 5 ayes and no nays. Item C, consider approval of contract with Guru for navigated learning platform for the 2022-2023 school year. Total cost $150,000. Staff report?
It is my pleasure to introduce Assistant Superintendent Sharp, who will be making her first official presentation to the board.
Good evening, President Clements, trustees, Dr. Nicholas. Today I'm going to be talking to you, giving you a background on our learning platform, Guru, as the title said, letting you know where we were last year, where we're taking the program next year, and then possibilities with what Guru offers into the future. So at the end of 2021-22, we had requirements for students to complete math competencies. And when I say a competency, that's a mini quiz at the end of a lesson. So it's one lesson within the program. So our 6th through 8th graders earned over 52,000 competencies. And like I said, it was required for math in 2021-22. Science was optional for 6th through 8th graders, and they still earned over 17,000 competencies. And ELA was rolled out in late spring, and even with the late rollout and being voluntary, in 3 months, students earned 1,548 competencies. We also offered to families a summer use program where their students could practice and go through skills, preparing them for the next school year. And with that, home use, we had 369 competencies completed. For 2022-23, we are still looking at a math focus. We're adding 5th grade to the required grades who are going to be completing the 2 competencies per week. We're adding science as a required lesson, or 1 to 2 competencies per week, again in 5th through 8th grade. Some potential opportunities for expansion, potential meaning that Guru has these available. It's not something that we have really considered or talked about at this point. ELA in 3rd through 12th grade. They have math available for 9th through 12th grade to access high school courses. And in science, we could also offer 3rd, 4th, and high school student science opportunities. So now I want to talk a little bit about how Guru fits into our math program. So a typical math program is going to have your teacher teaching the lesson, providing support, checking for understanding, making sure students are accessing the information, and then moving into step 2, where it's a gradual release of students being able to take that information and apply it independently. During this time of independent practice, students are being pulled back for strategic support, meaning the teacher is giving additional support to students who are still struggling. During that time, we will have students completing their assignments, and they can then go on to Guru, where they can also have individualized lessons catered to their learning needs. As we move into step 3, this is where in step 2, we're scaffolding the current lesson. In step 3, this is an even further strategic support from the teacher for students who are 1 to 2 years below grade level. During this time, the rest of the class will be independently working. For our 5th through 8th grade students, this means Guru and having, again, opportunities to have individualized lessons designed for them. And for our kindergarten through 4th grade, they still are doing ST math during this time. So now I want to take a minute just to give you a program comparison of some programs that are out there that you may be aware of. Teachers, families have used Khan Academy. It's a free program where you can have different opportunities in math primarily. There were some high school, college courses available, and now they're rolling out to ELA. They have a Khan Mappers program where a student or a teacher can sign up a student using MAP scores to give them their individualized plan based on MAP. Guru Sampler that I'm going to speak about is what used to be the free Guru, which there is no free Guru anymore. It's more of a parent or a teacher or student going in just to see what Guru's about. It's just a small little sample. It's exactly what the name means. And then Guru also offers services for an annual fee to districts who are interested in providing that support to their students. And finally, the program that we belong to is the LUSD Guru N Lab, where LUSD is a co-developer and co-innovator of the program. So looking at what each one offers, you can see that MAP scores being entered with individual plan created for each student. That is provided by ConMappers. Guru does not offer that. Initial placement based on a diagnostic for each domain with artificial intelligence adjusting as they go. ConMappers does not offer AI, and that is what Guru works through, is the artificial intelligence. Student progress transferred from one school year to the next. ConMappers does not allow that. You have to re-enter that information each school year. And Guru Sampler does not offer that. The Guru program, fee-based and ours, does offer that. So students can roll over what they've learned from the prior year and start off exactly where they left off. District access to mission control and teacher control. So these are the parts of Guru where you can actually see student progress and support students in their learning. ConMappers does not provide that. Guru Sampler does not provide that. And the fee-based Guru and our program does offer those opportunities. Teacher access. Teachers do have access to their student information in ConMappers. They do not have access to Guru Sampler, and teachers do have access to both programs in Guru. Finally, the biggest part is the bottom, access to engineering to create reports and make adjustments to teacher dashboard controls based on the needs of the district. ConMappers does not allow that. Guru Sampler does not allow that. School districts who pay for Guru on a fee-based do not get that. We are able to, with our partnership with Guru, to have that capability to meet with those engineers to help mold the program to help support our students and our needs. So how does Guru align or support our LCAP plan? In Goal 1, systematic closure of the opportunity gaps, Guru allows individualized support for struggling, on-level, and accelerated students. In Goal 2, instruction and curriculum efficacy, Guru provides meaningful work during strategic support. So students aren't getting a worksheet, they're not getting the same task online, they're having levelized instruction for their needs. In Goal 3, 21st century outcomes and stakeholder communication, Guru provides data to teachers, grade level teams, and the district on student progress, which helps us make informed decisions to support our students' needs. Any questions?
I have a question. So with regards to Guru, are the accelerated 6th grade to 8th grade, those who work on Edgeunity will also be using Guru?
They have an option to use it, but it's not required because they're already doing Edgeunity. So it's been available, but they're not required to do the math portion of Guru.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a question as well. I'm sorry, are you done?
Yeah, I had one.
Okay, go ahead, finish your question.
Good.
Okay. I know we've been using Guru. We probably started before last year, but last year in July is when when we approved the first year of the 3-year plan. Do we have any data, or is it possible to aggregate some data in terms of how well our students are doing or how they're progressing, given the capabilities with Guru from before we started using the program to even now and maybe in the future? I know that might sound cumbersome to put together, but I know we're a data-driven, I think we're a data-driven organization. I think education is data-driven, but it kind of would help us see, hey, is Guru making a difference for our students, particularly the specialty populations and in terms of closing education gaps? Did that
So
make sense?
we did. So one of the correlations that was made a couple board meetings ago was around the MAP scores at the end of the year, and that we didn't see significant learning losses. And one of the factors that was presented then was the math scores, and the math with our strategically significant subgroups actually maintained or got better. And one of the attributing factors, of course, they can't directly draw a line all the time, was through the use of Guru. MAP scores also indicated that we didn't have learning loss and that we held firm. So we could put together some more data, but I think that last data presentation hit the point that there is data in MAP and data in the competencies and data in our subgroups that show that it is making a positive difference.
Okay, and that's exactly what I was thinking of, something like that. So hopefully as we use, I mean, that's great for math, and hopefully as we start implementing and using the science piece more and more, we can show some improvements as well. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, I'll go with my question. So we are aware that we send MAP reports to the parents during the trimester. And I did see that there is a reporting that goes in here, I think in the third slide or so. So are we planning to also send some Guru report? The last one you said that we are customizing for our district. Are we planning to send that over at the end of the trimester to the parents?
Let me talk to Guru, and I can get back to you with that.
And I
I'm not
can,
sure what
I can
they
add
offer.
some other information. Is in previous presentations about Guru, we demonstrated the goal setting and the landscape that they do. I call it a cityscape because I can't remember the specific name ever. But they have goals and then they hit the targets. And what teachers can share with parents and with their peer group is each class, each grade level, each student, and they can drill down on it. And I believe, we can bring it back and show it again. But if you recall, it looks almost like a cityscape, like the big buildings in a downtown of a big city. And it was kind of a blue with a brackish background. So we've presented that a couple of times over the last couple of years, and we can bring that back if that's what you're looking for. And that information is available to parents.
Yeah, my question was more towards like we send a MAP report for each student at the end of the trimester. So the parents get to see, where exactly, like what percentile their child is, how the kid is progressing over the trimesters and over the years. So I was just, asking if, because we said that we are customizing it with our LUSD, I was just wondering if we are going to provide that sort of a feature also along with the MAP report, or is that only pertain to teachers? That was my question.
We will confirm, but I believe that that's already being done. And that, yes, that's doable. I don't know if it necessarily would fall into a trimester benchmark, but we certainly have the kids start with a specific space and the ability to say what they've accomplished and what they haven't accomplished and what they will accomplish, which is similar to what MAP does, but completely different visually.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Awesome. Thank you very much for answering my questions.
Welcome.
I would add a question about the competencies. How long does it take a student to do one competency?
So that's where, and I am getting positive feedback from teachers on this as well, that the competencies are much more succinct and students are able to complete them in a faster pace than a con lesson that might be 20 to 30 minutes. These are quicker than that.
Okay. And when you mentioned that the science was all voluntary, by voluntary, did you mean like the teachers could opt to use it for their class, or was this students volunteering to do it?
So it was voluntary last year. This year it won't be. Each student, 5th through 8th. And so it was voluntary in the sense that we let teachers were trained as we offered the training, and students, they could use it in their classroom if it was something that they had time to do. Kids could do it on their own.
So it was mostly student-driven, the voluntary usage, would you say? Or?
No, because some schools we actually held competitions.
Oh.
So it really we had a lot of growth in science. So there was a lot done on Guru last year.
Okay, yeah. No, my daughter loved the Guru Science, she said. But I also wanted to know the students in the special day classes, do they have access to this, and how is that working for them?
So they do have access to Guru as well as ST Math and some other things we might use for younger grades based on their ability level. Just depending on where they are, Guru is something that is, they need to have the independence to go through the program. So it just depends on the situation, the student.
Okay.
But yes, they're available.
Thank you.
Mrs. Sharp, thank you. But first of all, congratulations once again on the new position. Welcome for your first presentation.
Thank you.
Great job. Do you mind if I put you on the spot?
Go right ahead.
Like what can she really say no? Because you're walking into this, you're coming into this role. Like everything I've heard about Guru, the selling point was that we get to be the only or one of the few school districts that get to drive the development so that it dovetails with our learning methodologies and what's the word that Ben always uses?
Pedagogy.
Pedagogies, that's it, yes. All of that stuff. And so do you feel that this is heading the right direction, supporting those paradigms for the district? This is the vehicle, since you're now in that role and you're responsible for this. Does this support what it needs to support for this district moving forward?
I believe it does. When we look at our CASP scores and MAP scores and looking at how our kids have unique needs at all areas, right? So we have our GATE and our accelerated learners, as well as those 25% who continue to struggle to meet grade level standards. This is one program that allows all students to get individualized support while the teacher is servicing other students. It's also in math and science, which does allow us that opportunity to provide support to students in science, which is tested in 5th and 8th grade as well.
Thank you. As a follow-up question, is there anything that the district staff or board need to do in order to make this even better, supporting the goals of student achievement? And I know you've just started, so if the answer is, hey, let me get my feet on the ground a little bit, I totally get that. So.
Yes, I would say at this point, let the school year begin and see where we are with the program.
All right. Can I ask one more question? Sorry,
Yes.
I just thought, in your new in your role, so you might not know the answer to this, Dr. Nicholas, you might. Do you get any kind of feedback from the staff who use it? Do you ask them how it is working and how they're enjoying it? And if so, what is that feedback?
So it's been from a select few from my prior position, and they do really enjoy it. They say the platform's easy for them to see, so they're able to identify right away to see the competencies. If that is something that I bring back to show to you again, it is very clear on teachers being able to see students who are struggling, students who are passing the competencies, and students who really need some extra support from the teacher.
I also want to add that I appreciate your coming to give us a presentation and an update on Guru. I'm not an educator, so it's been a cumbersome process for me to understand this platform. At first I thought it was a curriculum, then I thought it was a data analysis thing, and then it seems like a little bit of everything. And since I'm not a user, I don't have first-hand experience, but every time I hear about it, I feel like I understand it a little more. I could never explain it, but I do appreciate the presentation. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, Dr. Nicholas, could we do that? Could we, as a board member, set up a time and go kind of like navigate it so we could?
Well, that would not be a problem.
Okay, thank you.
I would just be afraid of not being able to pass any of the competencies.
I probably wouldn't pass, but it would have nothing to do with Guru. So. Do I have a motion or further comment? Or
Thank you.
Move to approve
Thank you very much.
of contract with Guru Navigated Learning Platform for the 2022-2023 school year. Total cost $150,000.
Second.
Was that trustee Daniel? Sorry, I was looking down. Based upon a motion by trustee Pombo and seconded by trustee Daniel, student trustee preferential vote?
Aye.
Any additional discussion or comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries with 5 ayes and no nays.
Mr. President, I think the lore of Assistant Superintendent Sharp's first presentation was, "And the babies wept."
Item D, consider approval of actuarial valuation of other post-employment benefit programs as of June 2021 and GASB 75 report for the fiscal year ending June 30, 2022. Staff report?
Yeah, this is a regulatory have to. It basically says that we can afford our retirement liabilities.
Move to approve actuarial evaluation of other post-employment benefit programs as of June 2021 and GASB 75 report for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2022.
Second.
That was trustee Boulay, right? Sorry. Based on a motion by trustee Olson and a second by trustee Boulay, student trustee preferential vote?
Aye.
Any additional discussion or comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries with 5 ayes and no nays. Item E, consider approval of new substitute counselor's salary schedule. Staff report?
Yeah, this is an update to the salary schedule to align it with our other salary schedules.
Move to approve new substitute counselor salary schedule.
Second.
Based upon a motion by trustee Daniel and a second by trustee Olson, student trustee preferential vote?
Aye.
Any comment or discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries with 5 ayes and no nays. Item F, consider approval of declaration of need of fully qualified educators for the 2022-2023 school year. This is the annual declaration. Staff report?
Yes, we do this every year. It shows we've done our due diligence through the normal processes to hire teachers. Obviously, there's been a long-term California teachers shortage. This allows us to hire the legendary PIPs, STIPs, and interns that all school districts hire towards the end of the summer and at the beginning of a school year. And this is an important step for what we need to do.
Move to approve declaration of need of fully qualified educators for the 2022-2023 school year.
Second.
If I may, for the audience, can you define PIP and STIP, please?
Because I'm a music fan, I would start with Gladys Knight, but I would have Sarah Barrios come up and help me with my acronyms. Interns are folks that are in a program. Go ahead.
That's funny because I was going to say them and I realized that I forgot I know what it means conceptually, but I don't remember what it means, like what the actual acronym
A STIP is a short-term staffing permit, and a PIP is a provisional intern permit. So typically, we'll hire teachers that are not yet in a program on a STIP. They will have a year to be eligible to be an intern, and then they'll have 2 years to complete their internship before they have their preliminary credential.
Thank you very much. In my world, in the corporate world, a PIP is a performance improvement plan, and that's not what we're hiring.
That's my world too.
Okay, based upon a motion by trustee Pombo and a second by trustee Boulay, student trustee preferential vote?
Aye.
Thank you. Any additional discussion or comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries with 5 ayes and no nays. Item G, consider approval of updated certificated management job description, Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum and Instruction. Staff report?
Yeah, I did an analysis of this particular position, and when I looked at it when we sent it out when we were doing the search, and I looked at it we wrote that, I want to say 7 years ago, and I didn't feel like the job title really reflected what the job has evolved to over the last 7 years. So post haste, we made the adjustment to what the job is currently doing, not what it was needed to do in 7 years ago. And this is an update to that job description, which is simplifying instruction, assessment, and technology down to curriculum and instruction.
Move to approve updated certificated management job description, Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum and Instruction.
Second.
Based on a motion by trustee Olson and a second by trustee Daniel, student trustee preferential vote?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Any additional discussion or comment? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? The motion carries with 5 ayes and no nays. Item H, consider approval of contract with the Stepping Stones Group LLC for special education teacher for the 2022-2023 school year. Total cost $89,460. Staff report?
Yes, this was a person that worked for us last year, and we were happy with the work. Being that special ed is a shortage within the teacher shortage, hiring this person for a second year, who we were happy with the work, will help us avoid a PIP, a STIP, or an intern. And this is will help out our program.
Can I ask a quick question? Is it possible to recruit this person for our
We're always recruiting people like this.
organization instead of through a third party?
The simple answer is yes, but they work for that party, so we have to work with them. And it just depends, because when we get to the 2 items from now, they can name their price, and so we're going outside, similar to what we have to do with nurses. So it's hard to compete with the private sector that provides these people.
Okay, thanks. Move to approve the contract with the Stepping Stones Group LLC for a special education teacher for the 2022-2023 school year. Total cost $89,460.
Second.
Based on a motion by trustee Boulay and a second by trustee Pombo, student trustee preferential vote?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Any additional discussion or comment? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? The motion carries with 5 ayes and no nays. Item I, consider approval of contract with Keo Autism Therapy LLC for intensive individual services for the 2022-2023 school year. Total cost $78,555. Staff report?
Yes, this is for an IEP-driven one-to-one aid at the high school.
Move to approve contract with Q Autism Therapy LLC for intensive individual services for the 2022-2023 school year. Total cost $78,555.
Second.
Based on a motion by trustee Daniel and a second by trustee Olson, student trustee preferential vote?
Aye.
Thank you. Additional discussion or comment?
Yes, I have a question. This is for one student, for one aid for one student?
Correct.
That's all, thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The motion carries with 5 ayes and no nays. Item J, consider approval of contracts with non-public agencies for 3 speech language pathologists for the 2022-2023 school year. Total cost $409,696. For Ascend Rehab Service, Inc., Ed Theory LLC, and Speech Pathology Group. Staff report?
Yes, as I referenced earlier, these kind of positions can name their price. Individual people go to where the price is best. As a result, public schools have to go to outside agencies to fill these positions, and that's what we're doing here.
Move to approve the contracts with non-public agencies for 3 speech language pathologists for the 2022-2023 school year. Total cost $409,696 for Ascend Rehab Services, Ed Therapy LLC, and the Speech Pathology Group. Anybody want a second?
Second.
I thought sure that trustee Olson was going to second since she started the motion, but based on a motion by trustee Boulay and a second by trustee Pombo, student trustee preferential vote?
Aye.
Thank you. Any additional discussion or comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries with 5 ayes and no nays. Item K, consider approval of the updated food services agreement for National School Lunch Program between Mountain House Elementary School District and Lammersville Unified School District for the 2022-2023 school year. Once again, an annual renewal.
This is an annual renewal, already renewed, but the first one was lunch only. This one adds breakfast, so we recommend adding breakfast so we can help them with breakfast and lunch.
On this National Hot Dog Day, I would like to move to approve the updated food services agreement for the National School Lunch Program between Mountain House Elementary School District and Lammersville Unified School District for the 2022-2023 school year.
Second.
Based on a motion by trustee Olson and a second by trustee Boulay, student trustee preferential vote?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Any additional discussion or comment? All in favor? Opposed? The motion carries with 5 ayes and no nays. Item L, consider approval to hire certificated employees on the basis of a variable term waiver. 1, Kimberly Clegg, K-8 Vice Principal at Cuesta. Logan Loya, High School Vice Principal at Mountain House High School. Katie Withers, K-8 Vice Principal, Altamont Elementary. Jody Larson, Career Technical Education Culinary Arts Teacher, Mountain House High School. Fabiola Ferral, Career Technical Education Arts, Media, and Entertainment Teacher at Mountain House High School. Sheila Nair, Special Education Teacher at Cuesta Elementary. And Minju Soman Kalatil, Self-Contained Classroom Teacher at Cordis. Staff report?
Yes, this is how business is done in modern education. You have folks that are in a program that are eligible to teach as full-time employees, and they have a period of time or a set of steps they have to pass in their program in order to maintain employment. We're recommending this. All folks were interviewed and were selected by their committees.
Move to approve to hire certified employees on the basis of a variable term waiver.
Second.
Based on a motion by trustee Daniel and a second by trustee Olson, student trustee preferential vote?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Any additional discussion or comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries with 5 ayes and no nays. Item M, consider approval to hire an employee on the basis of provisional internship program. That's a permit.
It's a
PIP. Huh. Serena Sweetland Gill, multiple subject credentials, 7th and 8th grades at Hanson. Staff report?
We recommend approval.
Move to approve the hire of an employee on the basis of a provisional internship, otherwise known as a PIP. Serena Sweetland Gill for the multiple subject credentials, 7th to 8th grades at Hanson.
Second.
Based on a motion by trustee Boulay and a second by trustee Pombo, student trustee preferential vote?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Additional discussion or comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries with 5 ayes and no nays. Item 10, information and discussion items. A, district oversight on parent organization fundraisers. Staff report?
Yeah, the board asked me to present this information to the board, so I'm asking Assistant Superintendent Grijalva to provide that information.
Good evening. So I'm going to talk about School Booster Club fundraising. We have an administrative regulation 1230 that addresses the requirements for authorization to operate within the district, including the expectations in the rules. We also have the FCMAT ASB manual that provides guidelines for those organizations. We list all of the board policy within the application, so each step of the application indicates what those rules are. We require a tax ID number. They must provide the organization bylaws, including procedures for maintaining finances and membership. The contact information must be provided, and they cannot use a district logo or the district address. They must list specific objectives of the organization, the bank information, the authorized signers on the account, and the district has a right to audit financial records whenever there's a concern regarding the use of funds. If the organization is going to discontinue, they must provide a planned use of those fund balances prior to discontinuing. They must also provide an evidence of liability coverage, which is required every year, and we maintain those in our office and check for compliance anytime they're throughout the year to make sure that they're in effect. When an organization wants to conduct fundraisers, they submit the forms to the school site. The facility use requests must also be submitted at the same time, and the site administration approves them. They are then added to a Google fundraiser sheet, which is sent over to the district, it's shared with the district, and Associate Superintendent Harrison approves them. They then go to board agenda and then the notification of approval to the organization. When an organization wants to donate to a site in the form of services or supplies, we highly recommend that they provide a cash donation to the school district so that we can ensure appropriate procurement processes. If they go directly to ASB, they are noted on the consent items on agenda, and when they're received by the ASB, the principal approves those purchases. And those are also placed on the board agenda. Any questions?
Yes, you mentioned, well, what I understood was audits are performed when there are concerns. There are no regular audits of the foundations or the booster groups.
They can conduct their own. We don't do them on a regular basis unless we have a concern or need to do so. And we can.
I don't know, I would like to see a little more oversight in that, because sometimes you don't know there's a concern until you look for it. I'm not sure how the rest of the board feels about that, but
I think one thing I would like to see if we can do this is from year to year, some years volunteers are in droves, and then another year it's like a drought for volunteers. And sometimes that can really harm the organization that is run completely by volunteers. And they get into situations where they can't get their names onto the bank account, the new officers, because banks require certain information such as articles of incorporation. And so I noticed that wasn't mentioned as one of the items we require, but I think it would be great to require each nonprofit to provide a copy of their articles of incorporation. Those are public documents. It's not anything private. It's basically just saying that they're on file with, the state to conduct themselves as a nonprofit. And that way, when a new parent comes in and they've been left with just a pile of leftovers, they can take those articles of incorporation and get the organization back up and running, because they'll have that information. It's easy to get on your own from the state, like I said, but if we have it, we can help them out a little
We
bit.
can certainly add that to the application.
Yeah.
So I think that the rubber meets the road at their independent nonprofit agencies that assist schools but aren't under the oversight of the district. And the auditing process would be district providing oversight. So I think we would have to look into when, if there's a limitation to us being able to, a random one versus a mandated one. So we can certainly look into that. But they are independent nonprofits.
I know a lot of us have been on some of these parent-teacher association boards, but I am not familiar. Do the requirements to be a 501c3 require periodic outside audits?
No, let me speak to that.
Okay.
As somebody who's been involved in leadership and as a CPA, I actually would not perform an audit of a parent-teacher organization. I would not give them an opinion, because they're, as Trustee Olson mentioned, they're run by parents. Parents, if a CPA, right, the financials have to meet GAAP requirements, and you have to have footnotes, and you have to have all of these things. And once you sign an opinion as a CPA, you're taking responsibility for, and granted, it's on an audit basis and it's sampling and yada, yada, yada. However, the first person to get sued when there's a problem, right, with the financial performance of an organization is the CPA that did the audit. And because it's run by parents, because they're not typically accountants, they balance checkbooks. That's typically what they do. If we require an audit, a full-blown audit, essentially the firms that are willing to do that are going to charge buku bucks just because of the risk profile. And so if it costs you $2,000 or $2,500 a year to get a simple audit done, which actually is cheap. I'm thinking about this back when I was in public accounting, which was 20 years ago. So make that $4,000 or $5,000 a year. It doesn't take too many audits to take basically all of the money that was being raised. They could do agreed upon procedures, but the problem is that's not an audit, right? And it's you're thinking in advance of what you think the problems will be rather than responding, right? So I hate to say it, but requiring a CPA actual audit report to be given to financial services is almost a non-starter from a financial perspective. That you're going to drive them out of business. Essentially, they're going to say, "Well, I can't really do that." And saying, "Gee, we want them to do audit or even agreed upon procedures." My fear on that is that means the district is taking responsibility, more responsibility than we really have the ability and want to take. So while I fully acknowledge the risk, and if you'll recall, before I was on the board, 3 of the organizations in in Lammersville, had failed to do the tax reporting, right? And were in danger of losing their 501c3 status. But at the end of the day, you file a whole bunch of reports and you work with the IRS, and at the end of the day, they gave them forgiveness retroactively, right? And made it as if they always had their 501c3 status. So it's kind of a catch-22. If you exercise control, you're taking risk. If you force an audit, then it's taking so much money out of the organization. They're losing more. They're paying more money to the CPA than they're going to lose because they don't do things quite right. That, of course, ignores the concept of somebody. You read articles about the head of an organization. I think it was a marching band that they wrote a check to themselves for $20,000 and walked away. Well, they ended up going to prison for that, right? So anyway, I don't think we want to require an audit. I think agreed upon procedures or audit reports is problematic, and I certainly don't want the district to take responsibility. Down that road lies disaster.
Well, I'm not certain what I'm looking for, but I would feel more comfortable if there was a little more oversight from the district of the foundations on financial matters, for fear that something ugly is going to happen and kids are going to be the ones left out.
So let us look into that rubber meets the road part and where we could go, and we can bring back information to the board about what we think is best about our steps. And when we say audit, there's the formal audit and then there's checking the books, but and then I also heard something to the effect of disorganization within an organization, and then a new person comes in and it's a train wreck. Is a whole nother. We can provide assistance to help organize that on some level. So I think I hear 3 different things there. So let us kind of powwow about this and then come back with what we think would be prudent steps to avoid being responsible for a fiasco. That's the good part of them being independent. The bad part is we'll still in the newspaper headline, we'll still be there. So let us do a little more work on that, but that's generally the procedures we've been following for some time.
Any additional discussion, comment?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item B, permanent facilities at Mountain House High School. Staff report?
Yes, so I wanted to give an update based on the board's direction to me some time ago about the reality of what the aspirations were when the high school was designed by an architect, what the reality is with what things were like in 2012 in education, and the whole transformation that's happened in the last decade. And with the reality of the program that we built, which is state-of-the-art, that is not perfect, but provides as perfect an effort to provide kids with everything you could possibly imagine, and still building it to be better. So The reality that we're facing, are you going to be the presser? Is the high school was built for 2,400 students based on a 6-day schedule with floaters or people that float to open classrooms during prep period. An epic battle was fought with the original, no, that's not true, the second developer, master developer of the community who pressed their, okay, so I want to be clear. There was a group of people representing CalPERS that are no longer representing CalPERS, but in this story, they were representing CalPERS. And their vision for the high school was portables, or the kids in Mountain House and Lammersville Unified go to Tracy Unified. They didn't want to invest the money. That's one of the things about developers is they build things and they want to spend as little money as possible and make as much money as possible. So a battle was fought and a battle was won, and that was done by the previous superintendent, the school board at the time, community members. And so what ended up happening in that battle to build a 2,400 kid state-of-the-art high school was money was gathered that could build half of the high school, with the hope of someday being able to build the second half of the high school. So in what I'm calling phase one, with the first build, $93 million was acquired, $52 million in a low interest long-term loan from the developer, which is being paid back as we speak. There was a mitigation fees that were brought up from a Tracy mitigation agreement, and there were state matching funds to the tune of $93 million, which sounds like a lot, but a high school today is $250 to $300 million. So we built half the high school on $93 million. And those first buildings were the admin building, which also has classrooms, the multi-use room, the big gym and the little gym, and the stadiums and the athletic fields. And then in 2016, the board made a very difficult decision to go for a general obligation bond. And campaign Measure L went forward, and it won with 62% of the vote, which far exceeded the 56%, I believe is what we had to hit threshold, I think 55%. And so we were able to procure $56 million. And of that, a significant portion was spent on building the learning commons at the high school, classroom buildings C, theater, aquatic center, tennis courts, and the professional education CTE building. Now, here is what I call the original sin. The original developer, not the one I deal with today, and not the people who wanted to build a high school made of portables, but the original master developer gave for the high school 45 acres. If you look on the CDE website, you can find out that based on student population of 2,400 kids, the high school should have been at least 60 acres. So as usual with our journey in our district, we're always fighting for more things. So I'm going to give you an update on how we're going to address a number of these factors. So Mountain House High School opened in 2014-15 with 9th and 10th graders with 481 students. As you can see, over time, we grow by about 200 kids a year. In 21-22, we had 1,947. And this year we're starting, and this is, again, a guesstimation, of 2,167 students. 200 kids further, meaning the start of next year, we're almost at 2,400 kids. So in a very rapid way, we are meeting the threshold to hitting the mark, 2,400 kids. So one of the things we were able to do, and we have our exceptional principal, Ben Faubert, here, we developed a 7-period day model. 75% of the student body take an additional period, meaning they have more opportunities. Remember, one of our goals is close opportunity gaps. So at the high school, our 7-period day meets and exceeds that standard. We have success periods for students with D's and F's or who are struggling to get an additional period of support so that we can shrink the D's and F's, grow the graduation rate. And I believe our graduation rate last year was 98.6%. Is that correct? Okay, 98.6%. With 2,167 students, you can imagine that what a large senior class that was, and we all sat on stage and watched them walk. We have flex period, which is a reward structure, a positive for students to to get independent time. We have a CTE program, which again in 2012 wasn't really on the lens. It was not in the forefront, and we are offering career pathways. So that means you have to build classes and build programs so kids can go through a series of courses and earn a capstone to get credit on their college applications and job applications about having a specific skill set. We offer a bounty of co-curricular and extracurricular activities, and we're looking to grow those always. And we have an early college pathway program, which is award-winning. So we want to protect this program. We want to build this program. We don't want to be contained with what the ideas were in 2012. So what I'm presenting to you in the next few slides is how I think we can do that. So to maintain our current programs, as we grow very rapidly towards 2,400 kids, we are going to bring forward, as I said at the last meeting, a plan to bring in temporarily, and I want to emphasize the word temporarily, portables. 6 for the next school year. We have to do the order now because of supply chains and the whole dance to get them here. And we will house them. We were originally going to put them in a different place, but because it's only for 1 year, we were going to house them in the east lot over between the tennis courts and the swimming pool to absorb the growth that's happening at the high school, and we can have less teachers traveling classrooms during other people's prep periods, which is a common practice in high schools, but we're at that point where we're reaching our limit to be able to use that. So next year, to bring in 6 portables temporarily to deal with growth. And that is my no, I'm joking. So a lot of things happen and people see and hear what goes on, but it needs to be pointed out that this board doesn't want portables to be a permanent solution. This board told me to go do my job and find a permanent solution. So I'm here to give you what you asked for. So we have a plan that if you give me direction and say, Dr. Nicholas, go do it, it's going to get done, to extend the Classroom C building and have that work planned, designed, approved through the state, and built and ready for students at the beginning of the school year 2024-2025. The goal, the plan would be to have 11 to 12 classrooms in a 2-story model that comes off the west side, going west of the classroom building into what would now be the Learning Commons parking lot. Why? Less space, going stack the buildings. You go 3 classrooms with a hallway in between on both top and bottom, and you get your 12 classrooms. The reason why I put 11 is there's going to be a discussion about whether or not we need to put in a bathroom or not. So, the realities of human beings come into play sometimes, but our goal would be 12 classrooms. Ben and team are doing an analysis of if we put in 12 classrooms, how many regular, just normal, run-of-the-mill classrooms do we need? Should we put in 1 or 2 expandable classrooms, meaning the classroom has a wall that can go up or it can go down. So you can have 30 kids or 60 kids. It's similar to the dividers that we have in the Professional Development Center. He's considering, do we need additional computer labs of some kind? And ultimately, if we might need to add science labs. So once his analysis is done, which needs to be soon, and if you tell me to go to work, then that's going to be told to our architect, and he's going to get busy with what that's going to be like. These 12 classrooms will absorb any growth and protect those programs that we've been building since 2014-15. That's the goal. All right, funding sources. 2 things have happened. In the past, there was a big fight behind the scenes that doesn't sound very exciting because it was between the district, the California Department of Education Architectural Department, and the Office of Public School Construction. But long story short, we felt shorted in the original allocation of state funds for the high school, so we appealed, fought with them, had unbelievable amount of meetings, listened to a lot of bureaucracy and bureaucratic talk, but at the end of the day, we were able to procure $1.9 million out of the state, more than they wanted to give us. That was a good deal. Second, the last board meeting, this board approved a refinancing plan for the CFD 2002-1, of which funds can be used for a project such as this. And we have hit the market at the right time. And the amount of money that we are going to get in the ballpark of just under $7 million. And so by being fiscally smart, by utilizing the resources available, I feel confident that those funding sources will allow us to expand those classroom buildings. And we are currently in negotiation with the current representative of CalPERS, who works for a company called Resmark, who is really an affable fellow, and he is a developer, there's no doubt, and he's very good at his job, but he also sees the big picture and wants the high school to be successful. So I was hoping the negotiations would be completed by today, and they are not. We are in the semantics back and forth now, which generally means all the hard stuff is in a good place. It's how you want to say it. And I believe by the next board meeting, I'll be able to bring you forward to say that we have come to complete agreement. But generally speaking, the original sin of 45 acres will be corrected by the district being able to access 19 acres 2 blocks south of the high school, starting with 6 acres for additional field use, and potentially in the future, if growth got crazy and we needed to add more buildings and facilities, we could consider that, or we could have 19 acres of field space and things like that. So I wish I could say that's still totally delivered, but very close. So my ask of the board is to continue what you asked me to do further, which is go to work and get this start to so that you get a rendering and you can see whether or not you approve that.
Can I ask a question?
Certainly.
So with regards to finding the permanent solution, are we also thinking about an elevator?
One of the things you learn when you work in Lammersville Unified is ways to save money. By adding a 2-story addition to the current classroom wing, it already has an elevator, and we don't have to absorb that cost, which would be about $1 million.
Thank you.
My 2 cents is full steam ahead, Mr. Superintendent. You're pulling off what we asked you to pull off. I didn't like the idea of portables back when we were negotiating with the developers to get the high school built in the first place. I don't like the idea of portables now, but I think I can bite my tongue for a year if they're temporary.
I agree with Trustee Pombo, and I just would like to say thank you for all the hard work. Getting these things accomplished is not easy. I know there's a lot of people sitting in this room that worked really hard to get to the high school where it is now. And like you said, we don't want to let that stop, right? You know, we want to keep it as nice as it is for our students and make it even better. So yes, full steam ahead, as Trustee Pombo said.
Ditto. I don't want temp buildings at all, ever. But if that's what we have to do in order to bridge the gap between, you know, the growth, because the growth is fast. And if that's what we have to do to bridge the growth, to get that in place, then that's what we got to do.
I agree.
I agree too, but I have one more question.
Certainly.
Sorry. So with regards to the 6 portables, do we know how many classrooms are going to be there?
So each portable is 1 classroom.
Okay.
Each classroom will house 6 to 7 classes, period classes.
Okay.
And there'll be, who knows how many teachers assigned there, but generally speaking, 1 to 2 per one usually. And they'll roll through their number of kids that roll out there all day long.
Okay. Thank you.
So I think we have a consensus directing the superintendent to proceed as planned.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Item C, board site visit calendar, staff report.
Yes, I want to thank Noelle Balzerini for her hard work on this. My original idea, as I've said before, was really turned out to be one of the worst ideas in humankind, and it delayed this process quite a bit, but we tried really hard to make it work. What we have done is we went out to all of the school site principals to identify drop-dead dates, meaning blackout dates. There we go. Blackout dates, so that when board members want to do a formal visit where they go to me, I go to the principal meets you and takes you around and shows you what you want, visit classrooms and such, can be done because you'll be able to see where the blackout dates are. So that has been provided to the board. And then that's coupled with an activities calendar where you can access, and she's putting it up on the screen right now, all schools, all activities, and that's where you're informally visiting a school site where you're showing up as a parent, a community member, a board member, but you're not asking the principals or any staff to do anything. You just want to go there and enjoy whatever the festivity, the assembly, the activity, or whatever it is. So I think that will address what we talked about at the workshop, which is formal visits, informal visits, and the ability to coordinate them. So again, thank you to Noelle for her hard work on this, and I think this model will work, and we look forward to feedback for any as you're going through it.
Thank you, Noelle.
Thank you, Noelle.
Thank you, Noelle.
Thank you. One of the things we also talked about in terms of making it a little easier for principals is to have potentially more than one board member at a time to do those visits, so that there's not 5 separate visits. Is there an upper limit on what would be reasonable? I mean, I don't think all 5 of us should be visiting one principal at the same time. Is 2 reasonable? Is 3 too much? Does
I would
anybody
say
have any
2 is
sense?
probably the perfect
Okay.
number.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I know it, just to avoid any Brown Act issues, I think
Okay.
2 would be the max. I would feel comfortable
All right,
with.
thank you.
Any other comments?
I had a question. Is a student member encouraged to go to the school visits as well?
Well, that's a original question there. We thought Sharp was having a good night, but I think you topped her with a really smart question. I think as a student trustee, if you want to do a visit, well, we can work with Mr. Faubert and we'll figure that out with you.
Sounds good, thank you.
I would love it if you did. Absolutely. No further comments, questions? Okay, item D, student services update for the 2022-2023 school year. Staff report?
Yeah, we just have 2 brief updates that Director Bustatil will provide for you tied to Leo and CDPH loosening restrictions.
Good evening. President Clements, trustees, Dr. Nicholas. So we are off to the 2022-23 school year. Here we go. So currently our Leo online enrollment, we have 46 students and currently 4 proposed staff members. Just a little note, this is down 7 students from last week when we pulled the numbers. Just a couple of things to mention. At the end of last school year, we were at about 261 students, and when Leo first began, we were about 275 or so students. So it just shows like the steady decline in our Leo enrollment. So the Leo program was developed in response to ABSB 130, which said that all school districts shall offer independent study. That requirement has changed as of June 30th, 2022. School districts are no longer required to offer independent nor notify parents of an independent study program per AB 181. However, we made a commitment to our families at the end of last school year when we are seeing if parents were still interested in Leo. So we are going to fulfill that promise that we made to families at the conclusion of last school year. So what we're looking to do is, regardless of what we are required to do, we're making sure that we're keeping the partnership between our families and the community consistent and predictable and fair. The next thing is the number of spaces that we will have with Leo will be limited this school year because we want to make sure that we're providing emphasis to in-person instruction. That's where our students have the most powerful instruction is with in-person instruction and all of the experiences and exposures that come with that. So we will no longer be able to accommodate the revolving door that we had into and out of the LEO program last school year. We will definitely still have to abide by the 5 days to transition off of independent study. That's still part of the AB 181. However, we would not be able to accommodate people once they exited from LEO. We will not accommodate them going back. And then depending on new students enrolling into our district, we may or may not have space available in the LEO program, because staffing right now, you can see we have 46 students that we're anticipating, 4 teachers. So right now we're looking at 3 to 4 teachers is what we're anticipating for staffing for the upcoming school year. Looking ahead to next school year, because we're always trying to make sure that we're in the moment, but also planning ahead, we'll continue to assess the need for the LEO program and then make a recommendation towards the end of the 22-23 school year. So next thing is we're going on to COVID-related updates. So as always, and this is based off of the the CDPH guidance, and I did include the document titles down at the bottom just for reference. So mitigation, as always, the CDPH is strongly recommending vaccinations for all eligible students, staff, so on and so forth. I do want to mention that per last week's CDPH meeting, they said that the vaccine requirement that has been talked about and discussed, that will not go into effect for this school year. So will not go into effect prior to June or July of 23 at the earliest, so it's not a factor for this school year. Again, they're recommending optimizing indoor air quality, which we have already done. There was a full analysis of our HVAC systems, and improvements were made where we needed them, so we're all set there. And then, of course, as always, just reinforcing the respiratory and the hand hygiene, hand washing, you know what to do if you're sneezing, coughing, things of that nature. As we concluded the end of last year, masks were not required. They are still not required. However, masks will be available on site if anyone is on campus, whether it's a staff member, a student, or a visitor that would like to wear a mask but has left one at home or in the car, they will be available. One of the big emphasis, a lot of emphasis was put in the most recent CDPH meetings on the decrease of federal dollars. So with that, there has come some changes to what's being asked of school sites and school districts, and available resources as well. So it's impacted the amount of testing that's available. It's impacted the availability of like pop-up vaccine clinics and all of the support staff that we had as a district, as a state, as a county, to deal with COVID-related concerns and procedures. For many districts, this did result in a major transition in their practices. Many districts took the funding that was available and kind of outsourced things to other private agencies. They had someone else doing their COVID testing. They had someone else doing the sports-related testing. They had, different agencies doing things. We took care of everything in-house. So fortunately, that's not going to be a big transition for us to where we have to transition from being able to pay for an agency or an outside source to us having to do it. Our team knows how to do that. We are very well versed, so we have no change there. The biggest change for us is going to be that we are not offering PCR tests anymore. And towards the end of the school year, they were we had a very low number that were being taken to the lab for analysis. So that's not a big change. Other school districts were relying on pooled PCR testing and then other testing measures. And fortunately, we're not being impacted in the same way other than the PCR tests, which we weren't dependent on anyway. The other thing that I wanted to make sure that I'm mentioning is that we will be offering site-based antigen testing. So that will continue if there's staff or students that have been exposed or exhibiting symptoms. We will still have that available in the front offices and or myself here at the district office. We will provide home test kits as the supply permits, but I want to make sure that I'm being very transparent in I have reached out multiple times to multiple people at CDPH to try to get a big supply of at-home test kits. And my first ask was probably, grandiose. And so they told me no. And so then I decreased it and they told me no. And then I decreased it and they told me no. And then I decreased it and they told me, we just don't have any to give you. And then they advised that I reach out to our county Office of Education, because the county Office of Education would be receiving supplies that they would distribute like they have in the past, those home test kits. So I reached out to the county and said, we're ready to pick up as soon as it becomes available. The county says that they have submitted their order to CDPH and they are pending confirmation that their order will be fulfilled. And they were very quick in their response. I thanked them for the response and let them know that our team would be there. Appreciate you, Jimmy, on the day that they're available, and we will pick up our allotment so that we have them available to our community for distribution. And then the last thing, I was talking to a community member and they said, well, we think that the Mountain House Community Service District has at-home tests available. So I also reached out to the Community Service District to see if they had any tests that they would like to part with, or if they wouldn't mind if I included their information in a communication out to our families. So that is where we are at with COVID test supplies. I have plenty of professional supplies. What we're having a hard time getting is the at-home test kits. Okay. And then the other thing that will continue to happen is that any of our unvaccinated or unverified staff members will still have to continue with the weekly testing. They can do the testing in the front office with one of our school nurses. They could do it here with me, or we are also utilizing at-home tests too if they're available. Let's see here. So the last thing I want to make sure that I mention is the procedures for positive individuals, and it's very much the same like it was at the end of the last school year, staying home for a minimum of 5 days. They can go ahead and end isolation after day 5 with a negative test result, as long as they've been fever-free for 24 hours, their symptoms are resolving. They definitely recommend wearing a mask for 10 days, especially indoors. The general exposure notification, so if you recall, last year in the beginning, every time there was a case in a classroom, there was a lot of contact tracing, and it was very intense for the teachers, the site administration, and the whole team that was making sure that we were keeping students and staff safe. The guidance now recommends general notification to the entire school community during times of elevated community transmission. So that communication would not just be based on, I sat at this table group, or I was in this classroom, or I was in this building. It's going to be in general. At Mustang Elementary School, we are experiencing an increase of COVID cases. Please remember to screen your student for symptoms before they come to school. If you're a staff member, please make sure that you're monitoring for COVID symptoms such as, sneezing, a cough, runny nose, sore throat, things along those lines. And then the next thing is the positive case reporting. So there was a moment that I clearly not to think about when we had a lot of positive cases after a break, and we had a lot of families that were excited and they went and traveled to different places, domestic and abroad. And so we had a really high spike in our cases ready to travel, as did the county, as did the country. So every time there was one of those reports, we had to do an individual case report to the CDPH. And so we no longer have to do that. However, we do have to still monitor our positive cases and make sure that we are reporting any suspected outbreaks. So we're still going to monitor. It's just not going to be the same notification process. And we'll make sure that we're following the CDPH guidance in regards to what is an outbreak. And so they talk about an outbreak being, 3 or more cases in a 14-day period, and if you, depending on if the cases are linked or not. And so that's how they define that. As always, we will continue to monitor and implement any guidance from the California Department of Public Health, our San Joaquin County Department of Public Health, to make sure that we're doing everything to keep our students and our staff safe. Any questions?
Director Bastil, I have a question. What is the procedure going to be for volunteers to come on campus? Are we going to be able to get back to a normal kind of volunteer where, moms can go help out in the kindergarten classes on a more weekly basis, or are we, what is that policy currently?
So the guidance is very broad, but towards the end of the school year, we were welcoming volunteers back, assuming they had gone through the volunteer process. There was the requirement to be similar to our staff members to either provide a negative COVID test or vaccine verification.
Okay.
So as of now, that's what we would look to open the school year with. However, we're always going to make adjustments based off of the guidance from CDPH.
Dr. Busuttil, I do have a question. So I understand we are foreseeing or expecting home kits from county and MHCSD. We're just foreseeing that. So with that in mind, how many days before before the school starts, are we thinking of distributing? If we get enough, how many days before the school start are we thinking of distributing it to the community?
I mean, from our perspective as a district, we would like to have the test distributed next week in preparation to use over the weekend or leading in the first part of the week before the school year begins. However, I don't know that that's realistic right now based on the number of no's that I've received from multiple agencies. So our goal is always to give things in advance to families, but I don't want to overpromise on something that we've been pursuing persistently and have not been successful on quite yet.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for all you have done these last couple of years on this. I always hope that at some point we won't have to do this, but it keeps going and going. So thank you. I appreciate all your energy and efforts from the entire team that's working on this.
Thank you.
And I always appreciate the flow charts and all those drawings that you had, which made it so clear for the parents and the students to follow. So great job on that, and I really appreciate that.
I'm sorry, I just had one more question. If a parent has questions about the COVID policies, my understanding, and I want to make sure that I'm correct, where to direct them first would be to their site administrator. Is that correct? They're the ones that will get the guidance from you. Okay.
Yes, that's correct. But then, of course, if there's any questions that persist, I talk to families a little bit less regularly about COVID, but just yesterday I was talking to another family. So I'm always a resource to our families as well.
Thank you.
I would echo thanks for all that you've done. I know that dropping what you were doing and picking up contact tracing and reporting and all of that has been a nightmare, as so many aspects of COVID have been. I wanted to a couple of members of the community have talked about mandatory testing and the requirement, and we've looked into this as a district and we've discussed it as a board, that the laws, the guidance in California, the required guidance in the requirements, that's the word I'm looking for, because it's not a law, some of it's the California Department of Education policy, but we are obligated to provide a live education to students that want them.
Correct.
And we're not given an exception for we don't know if they have COVID, right? It's not like we can say, well, if you don't give us a negative test, you cannot attend school. We are here to provide an education for all.
Correct.
And so those are the rules that the state of California have given us. We can recommend, hey, gee, it'd be nice. We can say, don't send your kids. I think it's interesting that many of these parents talk about the fact that the parents send their kids to school essentially knowing that they have COVID. And I'm like, and those same parents are going to tell us, yep, there's a negative test. Here it is. And so anyway, I just wanted to, address that this has been discussed as a board and as a district, and we do not have the ability to make that requirement. I wanted to go back to Leo and paraphrase what you were saying, that all of the current Leo enrollees, we are going to live up to the promise that we made to them.
Absolutely.
If you transfer in from another district, you're not one of the people we made a promise to.
Correct.
If you're in Leo and you transfer out, you are no longer one of the people that we made a promise to.
Correct.
And that we are going to monitor Leo and staff it based on our best ability, right? We're not saying no. We're saying, look, we didn't make a promise to you. We're gonna live up to the promise that we made, and that's down to
46 students.
46 students. And a week ago it was
57.
So 11 have dropped out in a week because parents are more comfortable. They're transitioning to live. And so I wanted to kind of articulate that Leo was required, and it was the parents back in the day, or last year, it was the parent felt that their child would be safer in Leo. Presto, they can demand Leo, the independent study option, which we have as Leo, and that requirement has gone away.
Correct.
And the ones that were in Leo, you can stay in. We will live up to our obligations to you. Everybody else, we're not held to that same standard.
And it's important to note that last year they could jump in and out at will.
Yes, and I know, again, how difficult that was to respond to that. So yet another reason to say thank you. Anyway, that was what I wanted to make clear. Anything else? Thank you very much.
No problem.
Item 11, calendar. On Wednesday, August 3rd is the next regularly scheduled governing board meeting at 7 p.m. here in the district boardroom. On Thursday, August 4th, first instructional day of the 2022-2023 school year. And I would echo the comments of Trustee Daniel and say best of luck to the students, and thank you very much to the teachers for kicking off yet another school year. In a few minutes, we will be adjourning to closed session where we will be discussing the following. A, public employee discipline dismissal release complaint, Government Code Section 54957. B, consider approval of unpaid leave of absence for one certificated employee. C, student discipline and other confidential matters, Ed Code Sections 35146, 48900, and 48912B for 3 students. Item D, conference with real property negotiators. Item E, conference with legal counsel, anticipated legal litigation, Government Code Section 54956.9. And I will now entertain a motion to adjourn to closed session.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Based on a motion by Trustee Pombo and a second by Trustee Olson, student trustee preferential vote.
Aye.
Thank you very much. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries with 5 ayes and no nays. We are now adjourned to closed session. Thank you very much, everyone. Good night.
Thanks, everyone.
Reconvening to open session from closed session, the board took action on the following items. The board took action on a motion by Trustee Pombo and seconded by Trustee Daniel to approve unpaid long-term leave of absence for certificated employee number 129571 from 7/1/2022 to 6/30/2023 by the following vote: 4 ayes, no noes, 1 absent. The board took action on a motion by Trustee Boulay and seconded by Trustee Daniel to approve staff recommendation of student readmission after expulsion of student number 21-22-03 for the 2022-2023 school year by the following vote: 4 ayes, no noes, and 1 absent. The board took action on a motion by Trustee Pombo and seconded by Trustee Boulay to approve staff recommendation of student readmission after expulsion of student number 21-22-05 for the 2022-2023 school year by the following vote: 4 ayes, no noes, and 1 absent. The board took action on a motion by Trustee Boulay and seconded by Trustee Pombo to approve staff recommendation for expulsion of student number 21-22-05 for violation of board policy 5131, 5131.0, 5131.6 and Administrative Regulation 5131.6, Education Code 48915A2, 48915C3, and Education Code 48900C for the spring 2021-2022 semester and fall 2022-23 semester by the following vote: 4 ayes, no nos, and 1 absent.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The meeting is adjourned at 8:07 p.m.
10:07.
10:07, sorry.